Good morning, and welcome to Chapel Chat. I'm Pastor Kevin Little, and this is the chapel at Rantoul First United Methodist Church. Thanks for joining me today. Before I move on to today's topic, I do want to say that I'm sorry I missed last week. Like I said in the church newsletter, I didn't even realize I hadn't recorded anything after spending most of Wednesday in the chapel getting ready for the Ash Wednesday service. I really do appreciate all of you who have reached out or mentioned your disappointment regarding the lack of a chapel chat last week. It means the world to me that you guys actually watch and look forward to these episodes. So thank you. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the fact that I woke up and realized that I'm living in 1984. The year, not the George Orwell book, although that kind of applies too. Have you ever just woke up and wondered what year it was and how on earth we got there? I feel like I'm stuck in a movie right now, and I'm not sure which. Now, if it was 1985, I'd be confident that it was Back to the Future, and then I'd be able to do something and go home. But unfortunately, it seems like it's 1984, and I'm either stuck in Red Dawn or Footloose, and neither one of those seems like a good idea. For those of you who might not remember it, Red Dawn starred Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey, among others. And in this movie, Russia and Cuba worked together to invade the United States. It always seemed ridiculous when I was younger, although I loved this movie. I knew how impractical it was. A few years ago, this movie was updated and re-released with North Korea replacing Russia, and that actually seemed a bit more feasible. And yet here we are with Russia invading Ukraine, and the whole world is watching and trying to decide if we need to do something about it. Where are they going to go next? What former territory that they held in the 80s are they going to go back and grab if they're unsuccessful with, or if they are successful with Ukraine? What does it mean for the world economy? There are so many questions that we're just starting to realize need answered. Gas prices are already jumping and people are panicking about potential shortages. Now, mind you, we don't actually have any shortages. It's just that the people in charge of prices figure they might as well get what they can out of this before something happens. And thanks to 2 years spent wondering when we'd ever be able to buy toilet paper again, people are prone to panicking about whether or not we'll be able to drive to work. On the other hand, the world's also kind of starting to look like Footloose. And no, I don't mean that people are venting their frustration by dancing angrily in a closed mill, although that could be happening. And I haven't seen any tractors run off the road while playing chicken, although some of the recent accidents on 57 here in the winter kind of looked like that might have been what happened. Remember that scene in Footloose where John Lithgow's over-the-top preacher character realizes that he's gone too far and he's actually led the town to the point of burning books that they've decided are inappropriate? Yep. We've reached the point where complaining about how people dance isn't enough for us. It's time to start banning books that we don't agree with. I can't even believe that this is happening right now, because it isn't 1984 or the 1600s, it's 2022. Yet here we are, having conversations about keeping certain books out of schools because they address topics that people are uncomfortable with. And in most cases, it seems to be books that try to address racism or accepting another person's sexuality. For real? At what point are people going to look at history and realize that banning books or limiting people's access to them doesn't work? For centuries, the Bible was only able to be translated into Latin. This kept the church firmly in control of what people knew and what they believed. Eventually, though, it started getting translated into common languages and people could read it for themselves. Now, it's possible that this helped lead us to where we are in having hundreds of denominations rather than just two, but it also definitely led to a much more open approach to biblical scholarship as people were finally able to connect with the words in a new way. I'm lucky, folks. I was raised in a household that valued reading deeply. I grew up reading whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I started reading my dad's books in second grade and never looked at another age-appropriate book again. And I turned out okay. But I was raised by parents who were willing to answer questions if I came across something that I didn't understand or wasn't ready for. The only time that I didn't have full and unrestricted access to books was a period in high school where I'd gotten in trouble for reading a novel during my algebra class. Now, apparently, that teacher wasn't a fan of that, but that class was much less interesting than just about anything I was reading at the time. So my parents attempted to ground me from reading. Now, the only thing that was successful and that successfully taught anybody was taught me how to smuggle books out of the house and forcing me to read 4 or 5 novels at once. The only reason that I think anybody learned was that I was going to do whatever I wanted to do, and we all eventually moved on. But here we are, stuck in 1984, seeing parents and politicians trying to ban books while Russia's invading other countries and reminding people that they have nuclear missiles. I don't want to be stuck in Footloose or Red Dawn. If I'm going to be stuck in a movie right now, it needs to be Star Trek. Yep, I said Trek, not Wars. Most of you know what a Star Wars fan I am, and yes, it feels like sacrilege to say this, but it's true. In Star Trek, Earth is unified in a way that I'm not sure we'll ever see, but desperately hope to. In Star Trek, everyone has access to what they need. People take care of each other. People are able to live their lives in a way where they can work in what they want, not what they're forced to. Healthcare is assured and fast. Food is available and plentiful. Education is available for everyone. Sure, it sounds utopian, but there's nothing wrong with that because we believe that this is what the world is destined to become anyways. Star Trek is the closest image that we have depicting the future that resembles the kingdom of heaven. A new earth, unified through Jesus. One kingdom from that point on, and our mission as a church is to help make that a reality. It's hard right now, but this is still the dream that we work toward. It might seem a little farther away, but as another pastor once said, we're closer to Jesus' return today than we've ever been before. We need to keep looking forward to a better world, and we need to work to make that happen. That means loving our neighbors as ourselves, not judging them for being different, not treating them as less than us because they don't look like us or believe what we do or work at the same job that we do or even smell like we do. If Jesus can hang out with lepers, Samaritans, and Gentiles, then why on earth would we do any less? Keep your head up. We'll get through this rough patch and get out of 1984. We've done it before. And just think, even if we only get as far as 1985, we'll be in better shape. Because that opens us up to Back to the Future, The Goonies, Rambo, and Rocky IV. The future is brighter, the Fratellis go to jail, and Russia keeps losing fights against Stallone. Thanks for joining me for another Chapel Chat. I'll see you here again next week.